Hello everyone, I am Gaurav Warman and today I have got a very interesting topic for you, leading with emotional intelligence. To explain this topic, I will tell you a story of rocket launch and its mission director, and then we will discuss about the term leading with emotional intelligence. This is going to be a very interesting video, so I would request you stay with me till the end of this video. Once upon a time, around 1970s, there was a man who was working on the space project, and his mission was to put a satellite in the space orbit. So he and his team worked for 10 long years to create a rocket. And the day came when the rocket was ready on the launch pad. The countdown began. 5 minutes to launch, 4 minutes to launch, 3 minutes to launch, 2 minutes to launch. And suddenly the computer started beeping. There was a message, don't launch the satellite, there is a problem. So the mission director asked his experts, could you please go ahead and check what is the issue? When the expert find the reason, they said that there is a trouble, there is a leakage in the rocket. So the mission director asked what to do now. When the experts went ahead, they investigated in detail, they did some examination, did some calculation, and they came up to the mission director saying that there is no problem at all, we have enough fuel in the rocket and this leakage won't hamper the launch, so we must go ahead. Now the mission director had two choices, either to listen to the computer or to listen to the experts. He chose to listen to the experts and he said, let's go ahead with the launch, let's start and let the rocket go in the space. In the first stage, the rocket was absolutely fine. But in the second stage, there was a trouble. The rocket went into a spin and after a few moments, the rocket crashed and it went into the sea. Looking at this failure, there was a complete panic and silence in the headquarters. Everybody felt shattered. 10 long years of hard work, millions of dollars of investment in this project went into the sea within few minutes itself. After some time, another man walked in the headquarters and he asked the mission director, come along with me, we have to go and address the press conference. This man was the reporting manager of the mission director. Let's call him a leader. So when both of them went ahead to attend the press conference in the auditorium, the moment they entered, it was full of reporters and journalists from all across the world waiting eagerly for the leader and the mission director. The mission director was extremely scared to face the journalists and the reporters. He knew that he is the reason behind this failure. The press conference started and the leader said, these are very complex missions. We worked really hard in the last 10 years. Failure is inevitable. But next year, we will try once again that the rocket goes into the space. On listening to the comments of the leader, one reporter stood up in anger and he said, who is to be blamed for this failure? This money belonged to the Indians. They paid the money for this project and you people just lost the rocket within a few minutes in the sea. And the leader said, I am responsible. I take the responsibility for this failure. I assure you, next year we will come up with another rocket and that rocket project would be successful. The entire team watched the way the leader handled the situation in front of the press conference. And they were extremely inspired. They were ready for the next project. They once again all came together. They started working on the second rocket. And after 1 year, the same moment came when the rocket was ready on the launch pad. And there was a complete silence and the countdown began. 5 minutes to launch, 4 minutes to launch, 3 minutes to launch. And finally, after the countdown was over, the rocket was launched and went into the space with such a beauty that there was a tremendous sense of happiness and excitement that arrived in the entire headquarters, and people, all the scientists, technicians and the mission director and the leader, they become extremely happy. They lifted the mission director on their shoulders and took him around the headquarters on their shoulders. This time, the leader asked the mission director to go ahead and hold the press conference. Take the credit of the success. You people are the one who made this project successful. Everybody was happy. India made its mark to the history and India became one of the few nations who had developed the capability of satellite launch in the space. All the newspapers covered the event in the headlines the next morning. All the Indians were extremely happy to hear the news. This is a real story. The mission director was none other than Dr. Abdul Kalam and the leader was Dr. Satish Dhawan, former chairman of Indian Space Research Organization. In this whole story, the most amazing lesson that we can learn was the response given by the leader, Dr. Satish Dhawan. Did you notice? When there was a failure, he took the responsibility, and when there was a success in the next year, he gave the credit of success to the entire team. This is a classic example of emotional intelligence. The team became extremely inspired. The teams developed a sense of responsibility and ownership. They worked harder for the next year, and they came out with the flying colors, and their rocket was launched successfully in the space. This is the importance of emotional intelligence. The term emotional intelligence was discovered by two researchers, Peter Salovey and John Mayer, in 1990s. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage our own emotions, as well as recognize and influence the emotions of those around us. This is what exactly the leader Satish Dhawan did in his team. When there was a failure, he managed and influenced the emotions of others in the team, because he wanted the team to perform well in the next year with another rocket. Research says that emotional intelligence is 2 times more important than the technical skills and the cognitive abilities. However, when you become a leader, emotional intelligence becomes 4 times more important than the technical abilities and cognitive abilities. The same situation applies in our lives too. Be you are a parent, a sibling, a manager, or a leader, whenever there is a temporary failure or a stressful situation, always try to take responsibility first. Don't put the blame on the team. If you keep your team in the right frame of mind with good emotional intelligence, they can move mountains. I hope you like the story and the message behind that. I'm sure you will apply emotional intelligence in your dealing with your team and your family. Next week, we will come back with another good story. Till then, enjoy your life and be legendary.